G'day there guys, r/entitled people are going crazy throughout the town, and I'm going to tell you about them today on today's episode. Now if you enjoyed today's content, please do sit back, relax, and smack that like button, and tell me what you think of it in the comments. Posted by user TGNotatSerner, titled, "Yes, you bought the house, but we can stay in it, right?" So, not my story, but my brother's. TLDR at the bottom. My brother and his wife were moving from one state to another, and one of those states was Texas, so it was not a one-day move, if that makes sense. They had gone house hunting, found a place, one that needed a little TLC. Updating, since the owners were 70 plus years old, but since they are both great DIYers, it was worth it for them to buy it cheap and improve it. They drive and get into a hotel in town the night before closing, late, with a U-Haul full of all their stuff. They arranged with U-Haul to have people there to unload at noon the next day after closing. This is important. The next morning they go to the walkthrough before closing, and the house is not packed up. As in, it looks like people are still living there. The realtor drops that the current owner might not be ready to give up possession at closing. For brother, this was a no-go. They didn't have the hotel for another night, and had already arranged and paid for people to help unload. So no, contractually, the current owner needed to be out. They go to closing, and the realtor for the current owner says that the current owner needs to stay in the house again overnight. Again, from my brother, no. It's not arranged in our contract. We only had the hotel for one night, and I have the unloaders scheduled. The current owner's realtor says, "Well, in my day, we just sorted this stuff out. It didn't need to be in a contract." And brother says, "Okay, when were you going to tell us? At this point, it's too late. We made plans based on taking possession today, so unless your client will pay to reschedule the unloaders, pay for another night in a hotel, and with a pet deposit since we have 2 dogs, this won't work. This is why it's contracted, so that I can do things like not drive down here until the house is move-in ready." Come to find out, the current owner's realtor is no longer practicing, as in, was retired, but came out of retirement to do this for the current owner. So closing proceeds, and my brother and wife go to what should be their house. Current owner and all their children and children's spouses are there, just hanging out. Not packing, not getting things out, just chilling. And my brother says, "So can I help you out with anything?" And the crew say, "Nah, we're good," and resume chatting. Repeat this every 15 minutes for about an hour and a half, including my brother adding that he has people coming at noon to help him unload. At 11, they tell my brother that they're ordering a pizza. Does he want some? He says, "No, I do not want pizza. I'm celiac and can't eat pizza. However, I do need you to get your things out so I can move into my house." The pizza arrives, and they continue to offer him some. At 11:30, he finally loses it. He says, "No, I don't want pizza. I need your U-Haul out of my driveway in half an hour because I'll be moving my U-Haul into my driveway to unload my things into my house." They finally caught a clue. Cue chickens running with heads cut off for the next half hour, during which my sister-in-law brings the dogs in. Wife of formerly current, now previous owner says, "You can't bring dogs in here, I'm allergic." Sister-in-law says, "Yes, I can bring my dogs into my house. And you had no problem getting gluten-filled pizza all over my house when my husband told you that makes him very sick. Well, what about the floors?" "Yes, what about my floors? This is our house now. You need to leave." They finally got their stuff and left, but I figured this was a perfect example of very entitled people. Posted by user ShatsyRed, titled, "Brother wanted me to drop my life and serve him." This happened years ago. I just thought about it. I was living in Colorado, had just had a baby a few months ago, am married and have an autistic 5-year-old. My husband works in the oil field, regularly gone between a week and 3 weeks, no notice. The money was good. My brother is one of those guys that believes women should always wear skirts and dresses and have no opinion. His wife is cool with this. I, despite being raised by him, am not. I have a brain. At the point of this phone call, I hadn't heard from him besides a congrats text for months. He's like, "Hey OP. Hi big brother. You busy? Not at the moment. What's up? Can you come to Florida, take care of the kids and wife for a few months? We're moving and wife is pregnant. She can't lift and the kids are wearing her out. You're joking, right? I have a baby at 5 years old and hubby works in the oil fields. Well, have friends help. I need you here." No! He's in shocked silence that female defied him and says, "Then what good are you?" Click. Didn't hear from him again for roughly 6 months. Not that exciting, but happened regularly until I gave him the old boot about a year ago. Posted by user Oh Holy Hell. Titled, "I scolded a woman like a toddler for trying to cut into drive-through line. Apparently, at 50 years old, I have 0 Fs left to give and all my chill has evaporated. I was in line at the drive-thru of National Coffee Chain. The drive-thru was one where you had to turn left from the parking lot to get into it, so drivers were lining up and leaving. A space was left for cars to turn into the parking lot. It was a long line, and it was apparent to anyone who was not an arsehat that all of us were waiting to turn into the drive-thru lane. I was behind one vehicle with its left turn signal on, clearly waiting for traffic to pull ahead so they could pull into the drive-thru line. I also had my left signal on, many cars behind us, like at least 7. A chick pulls into the entrance of the parking lot, turns on her right blinker, and is apparently convinced she's just cutting in front of all of us. Dude ahead of me turns, and I pull forward. She inches forward to get into the line ahead of me. Oh, hell no. I've been here for 15 minutes already, have not been properly caffeinated, and am not equipped to deal with foolishness this early in the morning. I pull my mask down and just shake my head and very obviously mouth no over and over. Line inches forward. I start turn. I see her start to turn as well and roll down my window and just yell no, like she's a toddler. If you saw the Boo Boo Jeffries sketch on SNL, think that, except far less patience. I then proceed to turn into the drive-thru. She waited a moment, then pulled in behind all the other cars. No cheering, no parades, but a small feeling of satisfaction. Posted by user Cupcake Commercial 666. Titled, "Entitled sister talks crap behind my back, then throws fit when I won't buy her gas and cigarettes anymore when I catch her. My sister smokes. Not great to start with, and on top of this she smokes very expensive cigarettes. Each pack is almost $10, which I really didn't care about before when she had a job, because how she spends her paycheck, the part not being used to care for her kids anyways, isn't really my business. But she quit her job, Lamau, yeah, during the pandemic, a month or so ago because she, and I quote, don't want to deal with that tramp boss of mine anymore, and was coasting on the money that she had saved. Well, now she's run out of money. Shocker. And instead of looking for another job, she's instead trying to sell her car. But in the meantime, she's broke with no way to buy cigarettes. I don't smoke, so she can't bum anything off me, but our mum smokes, so sis could technically bum a couple off her, but she doesn't because mum smokes those crappy, cheap cigarettes. No, she wants her brand of cigarettes. She's never heard the term beggars can't be choosers, it seems. So she's been in a pissy mood for a full week because she can't afford her expensive cigarettes, won't accept any cheap ones, and none of us are coughing up $10 to buy her a pack that she'll blow through in maybe a week. But today I'd had enough of her catty attitude, and decided to do her a favor. I said that if she would go through the Place A drive-thru for me so I could get us all some food, her kids included, that I'd help her get some gas and a pack of cigarettes. She eagerly agreed, but rejected my offer to get her any food. and Place A wasn't open yet. It was like 9:30 a.m. and they opened after 10 a.m., so she'd have to wait till they opened. Then she sort of paused and asked if I really wanted food from Place A and not Place B, which is closer. Place B is legit right next to the gas station, while Place A is like maybe 2 buildings down, so still very close. I say no. I've been craving something specific from Place A, so she relents and says okay, and that she's going to be sitting outside drinking coffee until then. So maybe 20 minutes go by, and I go out to give Sis a written list of what to get, cause she has a not great memory and will forget stuff. And I get close to the side porch door, which is open, and hear her tramping about having to go through the drive-thru for me to our mum. Just how I'm so rude for asking her to drive so far, and how food from Place A is just so fudging gross, and how she didn't even want to do this anyways. Well, I heard our mum tell her to be grateful, because nobody else was offering to buy her food, gas, and her fancy cigarettes. Well, Sis scoffed and started saying something else, but I walked outside and she shut up. Mum and her had wide-eyed looks, but I reached down and plucked my card, which she was going to use to get everything from her hand, and just said, "Never mind, I don't want to burden you. I'll order through DoorDash instead," then walked back inside. She tried to call me back and say that she was just messing around, but I ignored her, and when it was made clear I wasn't buying her crap or coming back, I heard her pitching a huge baby fit, and our mum laughing and telling her she did this to herself by being ungrateful. So yeah, Sis threw her fit and wore herself out before going and sitting in her car for a few hours to pout. I really had no issue helping her if she did a little favor for me in return, but I'm not going to help anyone who bitches about said help behind my back. Posted by user VladVlad666, titled, "Your culture allows that, not in this country with my fiancé. My best friend is a huge dude. He is scary if he isn't smiling, but he's a huge teddy bear. A great guy, and he'd give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. He's also brilliant. He was studying in Europe and met a girl from the Middle East, also studying in the UK. She was a petite, quiet, shy, soft-spoken young lady, and to everyone's surprise, the massive American and petite Middle Eastern beauty became a couple. He proposed as they neared graduation. She accepted, as her parents wanted her to return home so they could arrange a fitting marriage as is their custom. She told them she'd met, fell in love with, and wanted to marry an American student. The fact that he was an American infidel was the icing on the cake. She returned to the States with him, and she informed her mother that the marriage would be in a few months and that she was staying with his sisters. To her surprise, her mother contacted her and wanted to attend the wedding, saying that while her father is not happy, he is willing to accept that his daughter loves this man. Arrangements were made and her family arrived, were met at the airport, and put up in a hotel near the venue. My friend and his girl came to visit and meet her family, father, mother, and brother. It was a bit tense at first, but they seemed to accept that my large friend was in love with their daughter and would move heaven and earth to make her happy. All seemed to go well. His sisters had taken her dress shopping and helped make all the arrangements. The venue was ready, the food, flowers, etc., and everyone seemed to be having a good time. Her brother was very quiet. Then, just before the ceremony, his fiancée was heading into the back to get into her wedding dress when her brother stopped her to talk. The talk included him registering his displeasure at her by grabbing her by the hair and slapping her for disrespecting their cultural history. Luckily, one of my friend's sisters saw this and called her brother. Now, while my friend is a teddy bear with those he likes and cares about, he's a grizzly bear if you hurt or threaten someone he cares about, let alone loves. A few seconds later, my friend arrives at full speed, snatches her brother by his throat and lifts him off the floor, and explains that if he ever touches her again in such a manner, he will break every bone in his body so many times that they won't heal. Her parents are offended, as it is their culture that women are to be submissive to male members of their family until they become subject to the chosen husband's rules and authority. My friend freely admits his lack of diplomatic skills, and responded with, "First, we're not in your country, we're in mine. The rules here demand respect for everyone. Second, the reason that their culture had gone from the most learned in the world, mathematics, science, astronomy, etc., to war-torn backwater was not growing past the rules of the 13th century when you had to protect wives and daughters from bands, brigands, and rival tribes. To understand that women can do just about anything a man can do, and just as well." He pointed out a picture of his sister and himself skydiving. Needless to say, after the wedding, her family returned home, and her brother is insulted. But his shy sister did point out that it was better to be offended than hospitalized, which is exactly what would have happened if he hurt her again. She also let her parents know that she did not want to live in a country where her family picked her a husband who could beat her, just because he felt like it, and she was expected to accept that it was his right to abuse her as he saw fit. His family loves the girl dearly, and Dolla's friends have taken to her and welcomed her to the States. She speaks to her mother on the phone and tells her that they'll send her a plane ticket when they're going to make her a grandmother. Her brother will not be welcome. Anyone ever heard of the "when in Rome, do as the Romans do"? Posted by user CheesyPeter1994, titled, "Entitled ex-friend is upset at me for getting a job in our fields." Dave, 35 male, and I, 25 female, met in an advanced math class at community college 3 years ago. I had finished my bachelor's and needed to take a couple extra classes to prep for my master's program in CS. Dave, as he came to share, had spent ages, 18 to 28, playing video games in his childhood bedroom, and from 29 to 35, he had had an awakening and decided to start doing something with his life. He planned on getting his bachelor's in CS, but had somehow managed to spend 6+ years taking part-time classes at the community college. The guy was 35, had never had a job outside of one summer stocking at a grocery store a decade ago, never paid rent in his life either. When we met in that math class, despite his past, I was impressed with Dave for trying to turn his life around. This guy was smart, but over time I started seeing another side of him. Dave constantly complains about his parents, the same parents who pay his every expense, including a reloadable Starbucks card and an annual Disneyland membership, the latter of which he uses 2 to 3 times each week. Anytime I ever offered to help Dave get a good starting job in IT or CS, he would laugh and say, I couldn't possibly work even part-time with my academic schedule, or $30 an hour, I'll be making 3 times that when I finish my degree. What makes him think that? His 3 months of job market experience from 2005? At the same time, he always went around saying he knew more than his professor did. He should just teach the class, etc. He would tell everyone he's a computer scientist and a true academic. Well, this summer I got an internship turned job at a major tech and entertainment company. I'm on track to finish my master's next year. The sad thing is, my friendship with Dave was over within 2 months of me getting this internship. He started calling me a sellout and saying things like working students didn't actually care about understanding computer science. They just lied and cheated to get through classes. Random BS like that. When I told him that wasn't true and that lots of students work, his response was to ignore me for a week and then write a 4-page letter saying that I don't understand how hard that he has it. The entitlement is mind-blowing. For a near middle-aged man who has never supported himself to tell someone who worked their way through most college and retail and as a maid, who now works full-time and mentors kid in STEM while finishing a second degree, that she doesn't appreciate how hard he has it. Mind blown. I hope he's still having a good time spending 40 hours a week studying and being a computer scientist at Starbucks. Alright, that's where I think I'm going to end today's episode, guys. As always, I really do hope you learned something or just really enjoyed the posts that were put up today. Quick shout out to all my new and existing Patreon and channel members. You should be able to see your name on screen right now, and if you don't, then I don't think you're part of the club, and you really should join the club because it's a great club. And I want to thank every single one of you guys for supporting me in this journey. It really means so much to me, and I love you all so much for it. Thank you for helping me out. As you can tell, I'm now happy and healthy back in Australia. Thank God it's not cold like Ireland. I don't like wearing jumpers everywhere. I prefer the heat. Thank you very much. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Anyway, guys, I really do hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you later. Bye.